In January of 2024, a typical cold email campaign for us could hit a 10% reply rate. Now, some of our best campaigns hit that figure. In this video, I'm going to break down for you how the top 5% of cold emailers are still getting outsized results despite such a significant change. Very quickly, if you don't know who I am, I'm Sefa. I run Leveraged Outbound. Leveraged Outbound is a B2B growth agency. Last year, we launched over 1,000 campaigns for our clients, and we were in the top 5% of smart lead users for replies. Let's get into things. So cold email isn't dying, but it sure is evolving. What's changed? Open rates have declined. Deliverability is more fragile than ever, and spam filters are increasingly sophisticated. Now, for good cold emailers, that is a blessing, okay? The truth is that cold email remains one of the highest ROI channels in B2B, but the key is adapting to the new landscape. So number one, deliverability is really make or break right now. So it's gone beyond just being a technical issue, and it truly determines whether your outreach succeeds or fails. Throughout the course of the year, every 3 months or so, we'll see Microsoft and Google go on some kind of new crusade, which is going to affect results during those specific periods. And what that means is if you're not diversified, if you don't really have a good understanding of how to get past those blockades, then your results are going to struggle as a result. So you really need to be thinking about things like sending volume ramp up. So right now, we start typically at about 5 emails a day, and right now we're ramping up to about 15. Typically, we don't go beyond 15 emails per day per account at the moment. You can go beyond that, but that's just to try and be ultra safe. Domain reputation. So older, well-managed domains outperform new ones. And this has been true for a very long time, but particularly now, and particularly with Outlook, what we're seeing is that domains which have been around longer are going to perform way better than domains which are newer. And actually, we're seeing a kind of warning message pop up with some of our newer domains that says this domain hasn't been active for very long, and kind of make sure that you know who you're talking to. Things like DMARC, DKIM, SPF, are absolutely crucial. And when it comes to selecting your ESPs, right now we're seeing that Google Workspace is better than Outlook. But like I said, you really want to be diversified because things change very, very quickly. And so that can affect the results that you're getting with either. And so that means being diversified across Google, Outlook, and also SMTP providers. Dynamic list building. So the best crafted email will not succeed if it's sent to the wrong prospects. And what we're seeing in 2024 and going into 2025 is that people really do have fatigue to bad cold emails, right? And so what it's really become about now is just going past those kind of typical demographic, firmographic figures into triggers. Triggers, we're looking at things like companies post-funding, brands that are launching new products, businesses that are hiring for sales or marketing roles, companies expanding into new markets. These are situations in which the company could have a true need for your product, and these are the kind of things that you want to be looking for. So examples, of previous targeting, we work with SaaS companies, right? Now, dynamic targeting, we're building that list to say, okay, we're looking for companies that have raised, for example, 5 million or above in funding within the last 6 months. Now, doing that is only step one, right? Because then a lot of people will take that trigger and still write a bad message. And we see this typically with people who are using social triggers. So people will take a message from a LinkedIn influencer, let's say, and scrape a list of people who interacted with that post, and then reach out to those people saying, hey, I saw that you interacted with this post. Okay, it's definitely a step further than just reaching out to everyone and spraying and praying. But you can go even beyond that to really get into what are the things that could be signified by the person reacting to that post. What are the kind of pain points that they could be signaling in doing so? So the rising bar for relevance, AI is not a nice to have in cold email anymore. It's becoming critical because prospects are fatigued. And so essentially that personalization and uniqueness is becoming increasingly expected and becoming more normalized as the LLMs become cheaper and cheaper. So in terms of what works now, relevance is about really crafting an email that speaks directly to your recipient's unique challenges and goals and their unique pain points. Now, even if you found the right person, then sending them the wrong message, like I said, will fail. So in terms of crafting relevant messaging, you want to tie your email to a specific trigger, but you want to go beyond that and think, okay, what does that trigger actually signify about this business or this prospect? And typically you'll be able to find that kind of thing if you dig back into your previous sales calls or if you speak to your current clients, because people typically come to you for a variety of reasons, but you might find there are some common threads. And where you see those common threads or those triggers, you need to get into, okay, what are the actual pain points or the challenges that these triggers bring about? Example of a generic email. So we help companies grow revenue through outbound campaigns, okay? Super generic. And really at this point, you're going to struggle to get responses. Now, an example of something much less generic. Saw you just launch new products. Brands at this stage often struggle with scaling demand quickly. So you're getting into what the pain point is. And then relevant social proof. We help similar brand drive over 200K in new deals in the first 90 days. So personalization is no longer enough. Your emails really need to tie directly into a prospect's business context. And you can do this with AI. So AI in cold email, from snippets to full sequences. So right now, the way we use AI, and a lot of agencies use AI if they're using it at all, is to create small snippets of the email with AI. So that's things like creating the personalized intro line based on, the company's description or the company's mission, for example, and then also dropping in things like industry-specific pain points, dropping in dynamic case studies, dropping in dynamic examples of a way in which the person might be able to use your product or service. And this isn't new. This has been going on, over a year, probably 2 years, and it's still best practice today, right? But what I think we're going to see more of is fully AI-generated cold email sequences. What we have to bear in mind is the speed at which the LLMs are improving, right? So you look at ChatGPT, the difference between ChatGPT, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, 4.0. When you look at that speed of change, what you start to realize is that really there is going to come a time where AI is better at doing this than we are. And, we're certainly not at that point now, I wouldn't say, but there are tools like Octave and Twain which are allowing us to create these fully unique sequences with prompting. And so that kind of shifts the onus from us being copywriters or creators to prompt generators, right? And I wouldn't say that, you can kind of open up Octave, open up Twain and let them just fully write your cold email. But what I would say is if you have in particular a sequence that you find is already winning, then these tools are absolutely incredible at scaling that sequence, but making every single email fully unique. So that's what I'm saying here. AI generates entirely unique emails tailored for personalization and deliverability. And the thing is, a lot of people try and get around this using spin tags. But the problem with spin tags is it doesn't imitate the way that people naturally communicate. So there's an example of spin tags here, hey, hi, hello, for example. This is a super basic example. But when you try to apply this to different parts of the email, what ends up happening is you end up losing the point, and the actual output can be pretty far from what you intended it to be. Whereas when you're using something like Twain or Octave, what happens is the AI is going to create a fully unique sequence, but actually that sequence is still going to be following the exact same framework that you created and that is a winner. Following on from that, content as a multiplier. So prospects, the first thing they do when they get an email for you, typically, if they're even a little bit interested, is they're going to look you up on Google, right? And very often, the first thing that's going to come up is your LinkedIn page. Now, a strong LinkedIn presence builds authority and trust, and content warms up cold leads. So there's kind of a dual effect here. The first thing is, if someone looks you up and they find that there's a lot of content on your page, they're much more likely to book a call with you. But then following on from that, if you're then connected with that person and they're being nurtured by your content, that tends to move them down the funnel a lot quicker as well. And so best practices, post consistently. So, 2 to 3 times a week, even once a week, right, to get started. And try to align content with your outreach themes. So in particular, I mentioned earlier, looking at your previous sales calls. And if you're able to pull themes from there, then you know that you're directly hitting on the pain points of your target buyers. Lead with case studies and real-world examples, and position yourself as an expert in your space. Now, obviously, much easier said than done, but the main thing is about being consistent and really giving it time so that over time, prospects are able to become more accustomed to the things you're talking about, and they're also able to see you in more of a human light. So to break that down again super quickly, number 1, deliverability, make or break factor for success. Number 2, dynamic list building, so there's a much higher bar for targeted messaging. 3, relevance trumps personalization. 4, AI, and I really think we'll start seeing a lot more use of tools like Twain and Octave. And number 5, content strategy, multiplies outreach effectiveness. So look, like I said at the top, cold email isn't dead, but it certainly is evolving. And modern cold email depends on precision in targeting, relevance in messaging, and adaptation to new tools and strategies. So the future really belongs to those who adapt. And at this point, the choice is adapt or die. So if you want to dive deeper into any of this stuff, I break them down on my LinkedIn page. I'll leave the link in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I'll definitely get back to you. Thanks.